Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel and the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you that are new. Welcome to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. We bring you the best in pro wrestling stuff, and ultimately, old school is where my heart is. Old school stuff before 1998 is where wrestling was worth watching. But we also bring you the new school stuff as well. This is the June 16th, 1990 edition of the WCW Saturday Night Series. We have been wandering through these on a regular basis here, and we continue that wander here. I am up to watching the first 3 months of 1988 to put things in perspective for you, and then we're going to jump to something else, but just an interesting run there. And so, obviously, this is an interesting time in the NWA for sure. Hosted by Jim Ross and Brian Pillman for the first hour, Ross and Paul Orndorff for the second hour. Not quite sure why you have wrestlers in the role of announcers there, but including comments from Sting and the NWA U.S. champion Lex Luger, who claimed that they would have words for the Four Horsemen later in the program. That includes Ross conducting an interview with Rocky King, who claimed he had a surprise person who knew Arne Anderson very well on his way. Also featured video hyping the debut of Big Van Vader. It includes Ross conducting an interview that the Nature Boy enjoys beating people up, and he demands who King is bringing in, which ends up being Thunderbolt Patterson in the weeks to come. Also, the Junkyard Dog and Orndorff challenging the Four Horsemen to a match anywhere, and they claimed the group had pushed them too far, and they are going to do that the next night at the Omni. Then we go to Paul Orndorff and Dave Bearden, 318 with a pile driver. I mean, I didn't even realize that Orndorff was a part of this run here in 1990 until probably about going through that time period in WCW. I had not even a clue that such a thing existed, and I'm not necessarily sure that it ever really got off the ground completely. In other words, Orndorff is a guy who is a decent enough guy, but he 1990, coming back off the Hogan run in 87, I don't know that he ever had a full angle here. Of course, he comes back in 92. Orndorff goes away and does the bowling alley thing, and that ultimately leads to a good thing there. Very basic punch kick offense and a pile driver getting him to the victory here. And that is the simplicity. Arne Anderson up next. Arne Anderson, your NWA television champion. Anderson, probably one of my all-time favorite talents, just for a number of reasons. Very, very aggressive. Rubs his opponent's face into the mat pretty aggressively and stays right on the opponent, which happens to be, in this particular deal, Larry Santos. Beats him in a non-title match in 3 minutes, 14 seconds. Anderson with all of his key, I guess you'd say key, but significant spots. And Anderson, even takes the arm over to the steel post, wraps the arm around the post, and etc. and so forth. Really basic stuff, and gets the win with the spine buster. The hype for Vader, as we talked about in the show open. Vader, of course, coming in from Japan. Pretty big deal. Then we go to Buddy Landel. Buddy Landel in action. Buddy Landel in 1990. Again, a guy that they could have done a whole lot more with, but his substance-related challenges proved to be a major issue for him. And also Landel defeating Dino Hernandez, 513, corkscrew elbow drop. Very basic punch kick maneuvers. Also some ground and pound by 1990s standards, just trying to keep his adversary on the canvas. And Landel doesn't really have a good deal of, I guess you'd say, I don't even know if I'd say influence, but doesn't get everything he wants on those through that match. Works the arm, and the enhancement talent gets as much as he can out of it. Anyway, Thunderbolt Patterson comes in as mentioned before, and he's basically talking about being in the corner of Rocky King, and also getting rid of Arne Anderson. Promo definitely worth going out of your way to see, just in the sense of, um, you know, simplicities of wrestling promos for sure, and it's an interesting dynamic there. Then we go to Tommy Rich, 8:59, which is about 4 minutes too long for a squash match. Rich in the contest here, managing to go after none other than, I believe, let's see, I want to say Joe Cruz, but I don't think that's correct. Yeah, Joe Cruz is correct. 8:59, 9-minute match. Finally scoring a Thez press over Mr. Cruz from the second rope on the inside. I mean, lots of arm bars, arm drags, and the like. Stays on the arm, works the arm for several minutes. I will, I will say, actually knowing how to work and getting something out of nothingness is a good role here for Mr. Rich, and of course Tommy Rich. We're talking, what, 10 years, almost 9 years removed from his NWA championship run. Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express up next. They are facing off against a couple of enhancement talent at the time, and obviously U.S. Tag Champs Eaton and Lane, with Jim Cornette defeats Bob Emery and Joe DeFuma. 9-title match, 9:15. Eaton pins DeFuma with a Vegematic. Obviously, Midnight Express, probably one of, if not the greatest tag team of all time. Young Bucks, please don't even. You show you've had brain damage if you honestly believe the Young Bucks are better than the Midnight Express. Anyway, and then there's a roll through, and Eaton kind of hooks up on his adversary. Lots of trading, and I mean the Midnight Express certainly getting a lot of value out of this enhancement match. Good double team maneuvers, short takedowns, and the like, and getting things in a simplistic, meaningful direction. Double underhook suplex from Bobby Eaton, among other things. Eaton, not a guy that you want to mess with. Then we go to the Vegematic win for both guys there. Then we head off to our next in-series of matches. Lex Luger is an eventual hope for a run here, but ultimately Luger running clotheslines and the like over his adversary. Luger taking on and taking down Joe Costanza. 2:15, beats him with a torture rack, and off we go there. And I'm going to grab my phone, so we'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail with more here on Pro Wrestling Logic. And then, Luger is a guy who is your U.S. champion at the time. Then we move to World Tag Team Champions Doom, Teddy Long, and defeat Johnny Ace and the Italian Stallion. 6:42. Ron Simmons beats Stallion with a clothesline off the middle rope. Prior to the match, a video insert airs of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, stating that they'd be ready for the champions. And of course, the Rock and Roll Express. And Doom is a good run for Doom, as Doom needs solid tag team challengers, and certainly the Rock and Roll Express moving towards becoming five-time champions would be one way to easily show things to be more consistent there. Again, Simmons and Reed at the time, probably one of the first times that an African-American tag team, racial diversity being put on a strong national level, at least for definitely the WCW run, and I think that makes a difference. They are running in um, racially diverse areas, and it makes logical sense to go in that direction. Anyway, Simmons manages to get that second rope missile clothesline and ultimately is successful with the process of vanquishing his opponent. Then we go to Mean Mark Callis with Paulie Dangerously. Callis, of course, a guy who ultimately, obviously becomes the Undertaker. Um, very basic brawl for him. Mean Mark Callis leaving the company, a few months later, but you don't know that at the time. Scotty Williams, 232, rope walk, drop, elbow off the top. Match prior to the match, dangerously claimed everyone thought Paul Orndorff was demented, that he would be willing to face Callis, and obviously that doesn't prove to be completely true. As that continues, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson defeats Rick Fargo and Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, 6:45. Gibson pins Fargo after a double dropkick during about a video insert with Teddy Long and the NWA Champions Doom, with Long claiming that the team would run through Morton and Gibson. Obviously, still hyping a great deal the nature and need for Doom and the Rock and Roll Express to cross paths in the not too terribly distant future. Anyway, we continue kind of through that, and again, Rock and Roll Express, even in squash match format, whether it be just kind of the double teams, the basics of things, and ultimately getting things there, it's a easy, simple run. Junkyard Dog getting laid out from previous matches by Ric Flair is also highlights. Junkyard Dog and Flair in the top program for a little while, maybe a couple of months or two. Just shows how off the WCW run is at the time that they would think that's a good idea. Flair and Barry Windham in a squash tag team match, more there to fill some degree of time more than anything. I mean, I don't think that anybody would necessarily feel compelled, for lack of a better term, to ultimately be, moving toward kind of setting that up. But anyway, Flair and Wyndham with Sid Vicious defeat Lee Scott and Mike Hart, 4 minutes 50 seconds. Flair forces Hart to tap out to the figure 4. I guess tap out would be the wrong terminology, but anyway, then we go after that. Obviously, the Horsemen still being made to look like $1,000,000, as well they should. Sid even does a press slam over the top rope, although he has difficulty getting the guy over the top. And then Sting and Luger talk about wanting to face the Horsemen and other competitors. Sting and Luger still a major run here. And then the Junkyard Dog, 2 minutes, 26 seconds, getting ready for Ric Flair, facing off against none other than Barry Horowitz. Very basic punch kick style, the big thump. Junkyard Dog looks like, well, he ate a Buick, and that's where that ends up. We'll be back with more right after this.